right? It's because the Christian church, think about this. I want you to think real hard. The Christian church has been told to align itself with that which opposes the Christian church. You're in bed with your enemy. You have a frenemy. I know you can't conceive that, a lot of you, because some of you deeply follow. I mean, like they've embedded tribal instincts into the idea of supporting an entire society that is against Christ. Because how would you do that? Well, you fool people to think that you're less and they are more. I can't come out and say the name. I know you're going to understand who I'm talking about. When you read the parable of the vineyard, Jesus explains who is a temporary tenant in that vineyard. And that the tenants want to take over the vineyard, which is the world, okay? It's an example of not just a small area. He's talking, the world belongs to Jesus. It was by him and through him, through the word, that the world was created. And that these tenants want to take over the entire world and steal his inheritance, right? That was their mission. Can't go into that either. That was their mission. Jesus knew it. And Jesus came to change the world and this structure and where this direction was going. Jesus explains in the parable of the vineyard that they had rented this land, and when the crops grew, they owed a portion, a majority of the portion of this vineyard, which they didn't plant. They were just occupants of it. They owed it back to God, or they owed it back to the owner of the vineyard. So he sent his servants to collect his portion. But they decided, hey, you know what? Let's beat these guys. Let's kick them out. Let's kill them. And we're going to keep this vineyard for ourselves. We don't want to have to deal with the owner. So finally, the owner says, wow, put in place here, God, you know what? I'm going to send my son. I'm going to send my own son. They will respect him. They will listen to him, and they will give me my portion from which I let them use my land. But Jesus said, what did these tenants do? They talked among themselves and they said, you know what? Let's kill the son and take the inheritance for ourselves. We'll take the world. It's our world. We're more important. So they killed the son. And Jesus said, what do you think that the owner of the vineyard is going to do to these tenants? This is Jesus's words. Now, do you think that your pastor's telling you about who you should support, who is God's children? Do you think that those who still reject Jesus to this day, the tenants, I want you to think about what your pastor or what you've been led to believe about the scripture. You have to think about that hard. That's why I'm saying this time of deception, even the elect could be deceived, and that includes pastors in churches. Some will come around, some are pressured by their corporate structures, which receive a lot of money by the deceivers. And it explains a lot about what's going on in America, about who's taken over all the industries. And if you look at every industry that causes us distress, every industry from the medical system, taking all of your money if you get sick, not really healing you. In fact, the same people running the medical system run the food industries that get you sick, and the psychological industries that destroy your emotional feelings from music and television and morality and all of those sorts of things that keep you in a... They're all controlled by one centralized, focused group. So you have to be very careful about how you approach this. And I understand that Christians get very angry about this. Listen, I had a book I wrote years ago where I thought, just like everybody else in church thought, I was going to move to a foreign country to help spread the gospel, because I was going to school to be a pastor at that time. And then I ran across videos of exactly how Christianity is accepted there now. How, we're told that this place is our friends and things like that. Nope. Oh boy. People are just as much about wanting to beat you senseless. I mean, they'd kill you if they got the chance. So I learned very quickly, moving on from there, what the actual modus operandi was of that entire system. And I went from being in the dark, being controlled by, the things that pass. Like I say, I left this seminary school because I was like, I can't go through and take tests and go up and preach a message or something like that. Teaching this to people under a control system that I'd have to lie about deceiving people. So that was that, and that was quite a time ago. And the more you try to wake up people, listen, everyone understands right now. Not everyone, but a lot of us understand something's wrong. And we have to remain in this perpetual state of confusion between what God says and try to make justifications for what's actually happening in our countries, what the belief system is of those who own the mainstream media, who own the music industry, who control big pharma, drugging us to death, who own the hospitals, who put people on ventilators for no reason and caused our loved ones to pass away, who pushed this thing here that went into everybody that have caused, who knows, multiple millions of deaths by now. That the political systems, right now, every congressman, every member of our Congress has a handler assigned to them from a foreign country. And this handler's total job is to subjugate them in some way. Whatever thing can be exploited, whatever Epstein Island thing, whatever, I don't even want to get into what you get the point. Whatever can be exploited to control them, be it money. You wonder how these Congress people get into office making, I don't know, maybe they make $100,000 a year or whatever, and they leave a multimillionaire. And you wonder why your life is very difficult and things aren't going your way. It's because the church has joined together with their frenemy. And they don't see anything wrong with it. In fact, they're like, oh, this is great. We're doing God's will. We're helping God's mission on earth. No. I also see that is offending a few people as well. But yes, every congressperson has a handler assigned to them. And this is controlling our lives. The tax systems and all this stuff that drive us crazy started by the same people and controlled by it. Where do you think all of our money goes? It goes into these systems, and now we're seeing with Trump in office and this dodge reports of all the money that's coming out of the U.S., things you've earned and paid into, and all the money is going to places that you would not agree with at all. All of this money, millions and probably $1 trillion, I think, or more. The Pentagon, even back in 2001, before the great event took place, Donald Rumsfeld came on television. And he said, oh my goodness, we've tried to figure out what happened here. We're trying to do an audit of the Pentagon. And gosh, we can't figure out where $2 trillion went. We don't know where $2 trillion went back in 2001. Well, how much would that money be worth today? $10 trillion? They don't know where's the money going. It's coming out of our butts. It's coming out of these taxing systems. You know, Federal Reserve is not federal at all. It's a private bank, maintained and mostly controlled by a foreign country who your church tells you to support. Ben Shapiro's favorite country. And that the IRS is basically a collection agency, like the people who call you if you don't pay your credit card on time. They're a collection agency who's not also, I think, located in Puerto Rico. And yeah, why not the US, right? All has to do with the secrecy behind things. All this money, all this control system. Now, I could get into pre-World War II Germany, but I suggest, because they would literally shut this channel down zippity quick if I told the truth about history. I mean, not my opinion, but actually what happened. So they never get into the why. Why did things happen? They tell about, oh, this was a horrible event, these horrible things that took place. Look how evil this Christian country was. Look what they became. Nobody tells you why. Imagine you wake up in the morning and you find that just utter destruction is taking place in your country. You know, anyway, I said I wouldn't get into that. Nobody tells you why the things occurred. They make it out as if a bunch of Christian people woke up in the morning and just totally decided to go berserk and just do the most god-awful, atrocious thing to people. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that that's all that happened and there was nothing else to it? See, then it'll tell you that in Russia, that system was taken over by the very people who are trying to take over Germany. And the creation of the Soviet Union was a construct by the people, Ben Shapiro's favorite Middle Eastern country. Now, I see people dropping off again because they just can't take it. But this is history. 50 million Christians died for the formation of communist Russia by Ben Shapiro's favorite allies. And they had already moved into positions in Germany. All the media, just take America mirrored. They moved into and began to try to take over through a thing called the Bolshevik Revolution and Bolshevism. And nobody knows that the German leader said, try just to get them out. Try to just send them away peacefully and allow people to leave. Nobody knows that portion of the story. Tried very hard, but made a public speech that said, I have to prevent another 20 million of our fellow countrymen from this happening here, and 20 more million people dying. So you wonder why this event took place. You never get told that part of the story. And it's starting to become quite relevant in the United States as grocery prices increase. We're seeing these weird laws being passed that outlaw Christians from talking about certain subjects that are written in the Bible because it might offend somebody or appear anti something. What? It's the Bible. And now the First Amendment, it's okay if that gets subjugated, or the freedom of religion gets subjugated from reading a historical event out of your religious book. It reminds me and makes me think that, hey, something's not different than 2,000 years ago when you weren't allowed to talk about certain things. And when Jesus was even tried to be driven out of certain cities and things and driven out of the synagogues and places like that. Doesn't it sound kind of the same? Anyway, so I've been going on here for nearly 50 minutes now, and I could go on probably for several days talking about different subjects. I can't, as you know, no one can really tell you the truth on these platforms. And you can spend the next 20 years trying to search through videos and information, hoping to find answers that have now been buried from the internet. You used to be able to find things back in the early days of this platform. You used to be able to find quite interesting stuff and very deep and insightful, but you can't anymore. They've managed to use these AI systems to comb through every word that's said on here. Even the comments gets read and suppressed. That's a paranoid group of people there trying to make sure your freedom of speech is suppressed. But anyway, so technology has finally caught up enough to where I can provide you that information which I have stored, written in books, did lectures on, taught on, from 30 years of information now. And the technology has caught up to a system now where you can take all of that and clone yourself, you know, like put all your information in a computer that's uncensored. So what I did is I cloned myself. Team put this together, cloned my mind, all that information stored in there. And you literally, instead of having to read a book or take a course or spend 10 years trying to watch videos and get information, you literally can just go and ask. You know how like people go on ChatGPT, which I tried to warn people about. ChatGPT and all these things are censored. It's woke. It's meant, and I have literally found the information where it was designed to psychologize. It's narcissistic. I've watched psychologists do videos on it. It's narcissistic, and it's absolutely designed to steer you in a certain direction and pretend like it's your friend. And anyway, I don't trust it unless you're using a very strict prompt to make it obey your commands. But back to what I was saying, I cloned my mind in a private controlled system. And you literally can, I'll leave a link in the description in a few minutes. You literally can click on this and ask questions about all of this crazy stuff that's censored from the internet that I have compiled from 30 years of research. And I'll tell you, is it important to know? Do they not want you to know it? When I first came out with this, somebody tried to put my lights out twice. Anyway, if you want, I'll leave you might have to check back. It'll give me a couple minutes. But I'm going to leave a link to where you can go and you can ask my clone questions. And you can just type in whatever your question is and it'll give you answers As far as I know back, it's better than me because it doesn't have to think about everything. It just has the information I've put in. I'll leave a link to that. It's incredible technology that doesn't get censored, and you can get answers instead of having to spend 3 months reading a book, because the book Reason to Believe I wrote, even though you can read that book, maybe in a month, maybe even shorter, you can read that book, but to process the information that's in there, that takes quite a while. So this is a great tool too, because you immediately can have access. Let's say you have a friend who says, thinks you're a complete kook about a certain, and we all have those friends who you're good friends with them, like, that's BS. They would tell us. You can ask that clone a question, and it'll spit out the information, maybe even the documentation behind it, and you can copy that and paste it to social media, or you can text your friend the copy to the answer to what you actually want to express that I've obsessed about for 30 years and have answers on. And, maybe it can help them from thinking you're crazy, but it can also help maybe save somebody's life. Like we saw the people who wouldn't listen about the medical tyranny that went down. I believe it will. So it's an incredible piece of technology, and hopefully it'll last quite a while without somebody coming along and trying to squash it. But anyway, I don't want to keep everybody all day long. You've got stuff to do, and I've got to get back and look after my family. So I'll leave a link, I don't know, in the comments or something. I don't know how this live section works, but I'll leave it for you guys, and check it out. You can use it for a while, I think, for free. I do have to pay for this technology to the system that hosts it. So later on, you can help donate, whatever. But you can use it for free to ask whatever super important questions you have right now. And you can ask it about business stuff too, because I wrote a book called Millionaire Mindset, how to think and act like King Solomon and resist this system. So anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for you guys who were here. I'll try to make more of these impromptu, casual walks. I try to walk off. I have some injuries from 20 years of owning a martial arts school, and as you get older, you got to keep moving your body, and things long past the time I should have kept doing, like MMA type of stuff. I kept doing it. And, I don't care who you are. If you quit being active, you'll start to feel it. So, all right, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. I'll talk to you later. Now I got to figure out how to turn this off.